Hi, I'm Professor Ritchey, and in this video we're going to continue to look at diversity in the workplace and some of Geert Hofstede's other ideas about organizational culture. In our last video, we looked at Hofstede's idea of natural culture and the six value dimensions. That was collectivism, individualism, power distance, masculinity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term orientation, and indulgence. Remember, these value dimensions reflect general patterns found within a nation. And like a nation, an organization has its own culture. And our organization cultures can be influenced by our national cultures. I'm sure you've worked in some places that you've really enjoyed and in other places that you have really hated. And some of this comes down to differences in our assumptions about the organizational culture. So, as you look for a job, these ideas of organizational culture might help you to develop some questions to ask on an interview to see if their organizational culture meets your idea of an effective organizational culture where you would feel comfortable. So Hofstede multi-focus model of organizational culture looks at six factors or dimensions that identify differences in organizational culture. So let's go ahead and look at these six dimensions. The first dimension is organizational effectiveness, and this looks at whether an organization is means oriented, that is, they're concerned with how work is completed, the workers are avoiding risk, there's minimal effort, we're only doing what we are told to do, there's a lack of trust, and often promises are broken. That is versus a goal oriented organization, which is concerned with what, the purpose. Workers are focusing more on goals, there's more risk, it's more entrepreneurial, it's challenging work, and we usually see some type of inspirational leadership. The second dimension is customer orientation, whether our orientation towards the customer is internally driven, we have an ethical focus, we're being honest, we're going to be focused on procedures, and we know what's best for the customer. When I think about this type of organization, I always think about hospitals, that they know what's best for their customers. And this is versus externally driven customer orientations, where the organization is meeting customers' requirements. They're practical, they're result oriented, they're flexible, there's always room for improvement, and the customer is always right. I think of people who are building houses and how often their customers might change their mind about different elements in the design of the house. The third dimension of organizational culture is the level of control, whether an organization is easygoing, they have a relaxed internal structure, there's low power distance, there's little predictability, control, or discipline. It's very informal and generally very few work standards. I think of where I work, I feel that it's a very easygoing environment at least my university or at my campus here versus the level of control is being really strict. It's more cost conscious, it's more formal interactions, punctuality is important, and there's a seriousness to the work and the work environment. And I think of factories, any type of factory where we are on the clock. The fourth organizational dimension is focus, whether we are focused on our organization or the local organization. So we're identifying with our boss and coworkers. We're short-term goal oriented. We're internally focused on our organization, and they're sort of strict control. Be like us. And this is compared to a professional focus where people identify with the profession or the content of the job. It's easygoing, long-term orientation, and externally focused. So again, I think of the university where I identify with sociologist and the content of my job. I have a long-term orientation and planning, and externally focused in terms of my students. The fifth dimension that we can look at is approachability, and this is how open or closed the organization is to other people. In an open organization, you have that feeling that everyone is welcome, it's inclusive, there's an acceptance that humans are error prone and all are informed, and there's a lot of open communication. This is versus the closed system where not all are welcome. You sink or swim. Networking is very important, and human errors can be fatal. The final organizational dimension, culture dimension, is management philosophy in terms of whether it is employee oriented, where the company views employee welfare as important and it is difficult to get fired. And this is versus the work oriented philosophy, where the welfare of employees are their own business. You must take care of yourself. They are interested in employee output, and it's a high pressure work environment. So thinking about these six dimensions, what would your preference be for your workplace culture? I again encourage you to look more and learn more about Hofstede's organizational culture. There's a click and learn app that you can look at his website, and I've included those in the comments here. The next thing we're going to look at is diversity and territoriality, or our space orientation. Okay, I'll see you soon.